Hello, happy full moon in Gemini. We are about 13 hours away from the full moon. It is a Mercury night and a Mars hour, so the third, technically the fourth. It is after midnight, 12:23. The full moon occurs at 3:13 Pacific Standard Time, and this is when the Sun in Sagittarius and the Moon in Gemini are opposed each other. And the thing that's significant about this full moon, there's a lot of conversations that the Sun and Moon are having, but the one that I would say stands out the most is the square to the North and South Node in Pisces and Virgo. And so that's a very karmic choice point. And with Gemini energy, this could be scattered emotions coming to a point in a decision where we are torn between obligation and looking out for ourselves, between disrupting the apple cart and going with the unknown versus doing what's expected to keep the apple cart happy, to keep society happy, or to keep those who we are serving happy. And yeah, we can be all over the place. And when we look at the ruler of Gemini, we look at Mercury, which is in Scorpio. And Scorpio's a water sign, a very deep feeling water sign. So we could be analyzing our emotions to no end, getting emotional. And then Mercury's in a trine to all of the other placements in water: Jupiter in Cancer, Saturn in Pisces, and Neptune in Pisces. And so there's this brink that we can be on of letting go and feeling sad about bringing these situations to an end. But as long as we are really tuning into our inner selves and allowing that part of us to speak up, then we will have the answer. And it's almost as if, something is speaking through us. You can just open your mouth and whatever comes out is what your soul needs. And actually, there's some interesting Sabian symbols that are connected to the planets and the degrees that they're at. So the moon in Gemini, it's at 13 degrees for the full moon, and so we look at the Sabian symbol for 14 degrees, which is a conversation by telepathy. And so these Sabian symbols, this Sabian symbol is really speaking to the ability to access our intuition. And it's probably an uncomfortable feeling, to fight the mental chatter. And that mental chatter is the ego. It's like something that keeps us from change. It keeps us in the same safe position that we've always been in, the status quo, so that we don't upset those around us, or just keeps things, in this order. But when the soul speaks and it goes against what society is expecting, then that can be disruptive. And at the same time, there are other energies that are supporting this and encouraging the disruption. Right now, I feel like we're moving into a phase, like a long phase, that is similar to like startup culture, where you're disrupting internet. Like you are trying things that nobody's tried before, and we have these hits of intuition and these visions that we could have only dreamed about, and we have no baseline to speak from experience. And that is the exciting part about this. And there's so many planets in Sagittarius right now, which speaks to adventure, broadening our horizons. And Mars actually is in the sign of Sagittarius, along with Juno, which is the asteroid of partnership, marriage. Really, it's like the practical Venus, where relationship roles are more defined. But also the Sun and Venus are in Sagittarius, so there's a lot of support in the Sagittarius energies, which is all about optimism, seeing beyond the local scene, seeing beyond what we are so used to. And Mars in Sagittarius is making this harmonious trine, which is a flowing conversation to Chiron in Aries. And Chiron is that wounded healer. That's where we have securities, or that's where we have insecurities. And in the sign of Aries, it's insecurities about our identity, how we fit into the world, our goals and ambitions. But with the trine, there is flow of supportive energy that is in agreement. And what's interesting about those Sabian symbols for Mars, and I feel like it really hits home for me personally, and maybe you, there's a lot of people that are in the same boat or in the same waters. The Sabian symbol for Mars in Sagittarius at 22-23 degrees is immigrants entering, a new country. And so with so many people that are ready to move, relocate, get a fresh start somewhere, have a change of scenery, this is very supportive. And in a trine to Chiron in Aries, the Sabian symbol for that at 22-23 degrees Aries is a woman in pastel colors carrying a heavy and valuable but veiled load. And Rudyard describes this Sabian symbol as a pregnant woman in light summer dress. And so you don't have to be a woman and you don't have to be pregnant. Anybody can have this idea, this concept, this project that they are ready to give birth, that is ready to give birth. So it could be something that they've been gestating, they've been working on, building, developing for the past year, 9 months, longer, maybe even longer. It could be a dream that they want to see come to fruition. And, you know, we could have this plan that when we land, wherever we plan to go, then that's when we will be able to really relax into our new settings and bring this baby, this project, this idea to life, because it will be surrounded by these elements and these gifts and blessings that will allow it to thrive, because it will be a whole new world in a month, less than a month. So this is something to be excited about. It may feel very restless, you know, like Gemini energy is already restless, wanting to, you know, learn all the things and analyze and just be so curious, which is definitely the vibe that we want to stay in, is curiosity rather than fear. I mean, with everything surfacing, all of this suppressed information or hidden information that's been kept from us for so many years, we're learning so much and we're doing our own research, and this new knowledge that we're gaining is also allowing us to make new decisions for ourselves and be more sustainable. And in order to learn how to be more sustainable, we have to do the research. We have to connect with one another, see who else is doing the same thing. And so it can be very exciting and nerve-wracking, because, I mean, we might have not ever done this before. You know, we are making things up as we go along, but as long as we stay in a high vibration and optimistic, which is what Sagittarius season is all about, then we can receive, like I say, like the most absurdly delicious outcomes. And I did pull some tarot cards. This is actually out of my late brother's tarot deck, who was a Sagittarius, December 7th. And so, yeah, the Devil card came up, which can be intimidating. If you look closely, there are chains that are loose around the necks of this man and woman, and the devil can be this illusion of suppression. You know, it could be the stuckness that we feel, the obligations. Could, you know, we could perceive this devil as our boss if we don't like our job, or, you know, anything that is kind of giving us this illusion of being obligated to this other goal, which is not ours. And so the illusion is that we are stuck there, but the reality is that the chains are loose enough to be able to remove them. And so power is within reach, and we are all kind of collectively breaking the chains of illusion, because we are finding out that we've been living in an illusion. We have been programmed to believe that the systems that we have been blindly abiding to have had our best interests at heart, but we are quickly learning that that has not been the case. And so we are reversing the reverse. We're not reinventing the wheel. This has been in existence. You know, these simple ways of life have been around for eons, and I mean, animals live freely, and there's no reason why humans shouldn't either. We are part of this earth as well. And so, yeah, the devil is a completely mental illusion. And the thing about the programming that we've been subject to is that it uses emotional propaganda. And so I feel like that's the tie with the devil, like emotional manipulation, propaganda. And then I also pulled the Five of Swords, which 5 also represents major change, which is most definitely what we are experiencing right now. But it also speaks to the choice point configuration that we have with the full moon squaring the nodes. So this is like a culmination of whether to put your swords down, to surrender, walk away, or to engage, fight, or play in this conflict, whether you're defending your ego, or if you're defending your ego and you want to prove yourself to others or prove yourself to yourself, or whether you want to walk away and allow yourself the space to pursue, cultivate your own dreams, your passions, take care of your baby, your project, whatever it might be. And then Temperance came out together with the Five of Swords. Temperance is the embodiment of the balance between the earthly plane and the heavens. And so learning to balance that practicality and intuitive energies, like we have a lot to receive from going within and being quiet and, not getting caught up in the earthly material world. But we also, with the Temperance card, want to balance it out with having the discernment with what is materially serving us and what is not. So yeah, it's a process of narrowing down what is helpful, what is nourishing, what is aligned, and also alchemizing that which is not aligned, which is misaligned, and what is harmful to our bodies. And so we have this kind of like responsibility to make sure that we are taking care of this temple. Because, this temple, this flesh sack, however you want to call this body, it is important to allow this body to serve our soul, like soul food. Soul food is the kind of food that is medicine, like I have this rack of herbs and seeds, and they all serve a certain purpose. That's my medicine cabinet. And then also the King of Swords at the bottom of the deck. Again, I think this speaks to applying discernment. Swords are that mental energy, which, the Five of Swords and King of Swords relating to Gemini, Mercury. I feel like the King of Swords could even be Mercury in Scorpio, just really cutting through the BS and getting super clear on your vision, speaking them into reality, and speaking your truth. And just when you open your mouth and allow yourself to speak without hesitation, then the truth will come out. What needs to be relayed will be relayed, and it may not be what others want to hear, but it is something that your soul needs. I consider the full moon in Gemini feeling between the lines, especially with Mercury in the sign of Scorpio and the Sabian symbol of the two men communicating through ESP, a conversation by telepathy. There's a lot to glean from conversations where maybe after the fact you might have picked up on some sort of subtle gaslighting or triggering some sort of phrase or question, or it could be anything where you are being challenged to either being persuaded to go against your inner authority. So it's just really important to read between the lines and keep the distractions from influencing your discernment. And the insight that we can get when we tune out the distractions can be unbelievable. It could be intimidating. Like the insight that we get, like we resonate with it to a strong degree, but then at the same time it can be very intimidating because of the potentiality that it has, like where we might have been relying on these systems that we're breaking away from, where we're doing our best to break away from. So I hesitate to use the word try. So instead of try, I say do our best. So doing our best to break away from these old systems that are no longer serving us, that have only been proving themselves to be very self-serving and soul-suppressing. So it can be intimidating to break away from these systems that have been in place for so long, where we've seen so many generations uphold these systems. And so now we're starting something new, doing something new. We're like writing our own knowledge base, writing these new processes, and it will take a lot of experimentation. This is major trial and error energies, and I think the best way to go about it is with a lot of curiosity and optimism. I mean, that is the axis between Gemini and Sagittarius, is information and knowledge and curiosity. Like both Gemini and Sagittarius want to search for the truth. And Sagittarius has a big picture, broadening our horizons kind of approach. And Gemini is, having a finger in each pot and learning so much information. There's so much curiosity that Gemini wants to satisfy. And there's the spectrum of overload, so that's something that we have to be careful of. But just really staying curious and having fun with this roller coaster ride that we're on, that we've always been on, but that we have been programmed to believe that, going outside of this wheel of this system that's been set up for a certain select few. Like breaking away from that belief that venturing out of that wheel was dangerous. Like that is actually further from the truth. Like going on adventures and seeing what else is out there, exploring the world is the purpose of life, you know, to gain experience and experience all of the beauty and magic that this planet has to offer. And yeah, that is where we're headed, and we're definitely breaking away from those conditions of fearing the other person, you know, fearing that if they're not like us, then they're not safe. If we don't understand them, then don't talk to them. You know, that's not that. We're moving away from that. We are moving away from that ideology and exploring and reconnecting with everything that is unknown. And that is part of the Pisces North Node objective, is trusting the unknown and being pleasantly surprised. So yeah, I think that's all I wanted to mention about that. Let me see. Yeah, another thing about the Mars-Chiron trine, Mars in Sagittarius and Chiron in Aries. I think I might have mentioned this before, but that's conquering karmic cycles or conquering fragile cycles, defeating fragile cycles, which is that insecurity of not knowing our place in life. And Mars in Sagittarius is very bold and daring, and actually Mars is out of bounds at the moment, which is like a dog off leash. So we are really exploring and seeing what else is out there. The only thing about a Mars out of bounds and in Sagittarius, there's like no regulations, you know. There's got to be some integrity, and you have to be really careful with this Mars in Sagittarius, like going big, going beyond what is safe. Really, if you're involved with someone else, then you really want to have a safe word. You really want to make sure that each step, word, action that is taken is done with integrity, consent, basically. So yeah, that's the only thing about Mars out of bounds in any sign really, but in a fire sign it can really push the limits. And yeah, we still have this water trine with Mercury, Jupiter, and Saturn, and this is further bringing up like old memories and emotions that we are processing, which is meant for us to transmute and alchemize so that we can make room for what is new, and we can accept the past for what it is, for what it was, and honor what blessings have come from it. We don't want to harp on it. We don't want to hold on to them. We want to acknowledge these emotions and these stories and these events and transmute them and learn from them without judgment. And that's where Neptune in Pisces comes into play. Like Neptune is very accepting and takes into account everybody's past experience and how we've all come to the point of where we are currently at. So thank Goddess for Neptune in Pisces. And before you know it, on the 11th, Neptune will be going direct. It will no longer be retrograde, and it will move into Aries. I believe that is January 26th, and it will stay in Aries for like 13 years. This is the point of no turning back. And then on the 11th also, Venus, which rules relationships and money and values, will be squaring the node. So that'll be another choice point configuration where we will be faced with decisions to either trust the unknown, trust our intuition, and have compassion and empathy and understanding for what is unfolding, whether that is ending or a beginning, rather than falling into the trap of obligations and doing things that are not in our best interest, following orders just for the sake of following orders, because that's what we've been told to do. We have to really use our consciousness when making these decisions, where we are at this crossroads configuration between the North and South Node. So yeah, I hope that was helpful, and I hope that made sense. Thank you so much for sticking around once again. Don't hesitate to reach out and hit me up for a reading to unfold your beautiful birth chart. There's a lot going on, a lot to look forward to, and as long as we are alive, then we have a purpose. We have so much creativity to share. The more we put it out there, the more we can turn this energy around that has been projected on the screens. So hopefully that made sense. Hopefully that was helpful. And I hope to see you on the next one. All the best.